what I'm looking at. So what we're going to talk about today is the LuLaRoe culture. And then I also wanted to throw in kind of some leadership tips, things that I took away from leadership training in California. But first off is the LuLaRoe culture. And I feel like that because LuLaRoe has grown so fast that we've gotten away from the true culture of LuLaRoe, the true reason why Deanne started this company. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard her story. If you haven't, I could share a great video on our team page that's about 12 or 13 minutes long that really talks about her story. And there's also the opportunity call that she shares some of her story. But the mission of our company is to bless lives and strengthen families. And that holds so true to me because LuLaRoe has done so much more than bless my life and strengthen my family. My husband and I have always had a pretty good relationship, but LuLaRoe has made that amazing. We used to fight when he would get these messages that there was no work tomorrow because that meant money was tight. If he didn't go to work all week, we were going to be eating ramen noodles for dinner. And so now we don't have to have those arguments. We have some financial stability where him not going to work is not that big of a deal. We have a better relationship with our child. It's strengthening our family and it's blessing our lives. And I want to make sure that it does that for you guys as well. So that's why I think it's so important that we live and breathe the LuLaRoe culture. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I also wanted to share with you kind of the full mission statement for those of you that might not know. And it is the full mission statement of LuLaRoe is where through fashion we create freedom, serve others, and strengthen families. A place where lives are being blessed and dreams are achieved through love, purpose, confidence, trust, and growth. And all of those words speak so much to me. Love, purpose, confidence, trust, growth. Those are all things that I've become better in my life in the last year that I've been involved in LuLaRoe. You can ask my husband. Luckily, he's not in here right now. But, I was somewhat of a negative person. And some of you might be like, I don't believe it. Well, believe it, because I was kind of a pessimist. And I always looked at the glass half empty. And LuLaRoe has really changed that for me. It's one of those things. In the very beginning, I started my business with no leggings. There was a leggings drought, and they call it the leggings drought of 2016. It was like, I think, November, January, and half of February. There was literally not a single pair of leggings to be found. I got my starter kit with 0 leggings. And I went almost 2 months of my business with no leggings. It was insane. And I thought, there's no way I can be successful with no leggings. Well, guess what? I'm successful. So little things like that, guys, we just have to kind of move past. And we have to be positive. We have to be creators. Those of you that have heard, the drama triangle, those are things that we talk about, being a creator versus being a persecutor. LuLaRoe is not out to get you. And my mom and I always laugh because she'll be like, I swear they never send you any good Sarahs. And I'm like, Mom, I swear that they're not in the warehouse going, oh, this is that Meredith girl. We're going to send her all the gray Sarahs. They don't have time for that. They are sending everybody what is the next on the row. So just know that the company is not out to get you. They are out to help us, and they are out to bless us. And they want us to have growth. They want us to have success. They want us to fulfill our dreams. And those are all things that we can do by living and breathing this culture. The next thing I kind of wanted to talk about the LuLaRoe culture is being humble and kind. And there's that country song, and I was thinking about pulling up the lyrics and singing you a little chorus line, but I'll spare you. But humble and kind, it's the way the company wants us to be, because number one, this could all be taken away from us. There was a consultant who is extremely successful. Her name is Erin. And her house burnt down while she was a LuLaRoe consultant, and all her inventory. This happened back in 2015, maybe 2014. And she was able to rebuild her business. And she's a coach with LuLaRoe. And she was able to rebuild her business, but it was taken away from her momentarily. So you just never know what can happen. Now, I don't wish that on any of you, but your circumstances can always change. The circumstances of the company could always change. So please always remain humble. This opportunity has not been given to us to be, movie stars and flaunting the things that we have, or the things that we've been blessed with. We need to be humble. And then kindness matters. And that kind of goes on to the see a need and fill it. That's a kindness thing, where when you see that somebody has a need, so let's say, for instance, you have a good client and her, grandmother passed away and she needs a black dress. Well, maybe you don't have one, but you help hunt her down one. When you don't normally do unicorn hunting, but this is a good customer, you see this need, she doesn't have the resource, she doesn't have the mindset right now to go hunt it down herself. So maybe you'll help her. Or, just like giving a homeless man on the street a cheeseburger, that's see a need and fill it. So just know that see a need and fill it is however you perceive it, whatever needs you see, whatever needs you're called to fill. But I think it also goes into each other. I mean, how often has somebody who's not on your team or not a part of our group asked us for help? They want to see your group. They want to copy your ideas. It's okay, you guys, because we all have different stuff. Now, I don't recommend that you just go swiping everybody else's ideas, but collaborate with these people. There's a lot of people that are doing really amazing things in LuLaRoe, and I want to encourage our team to be kind. So if somebody comes to you and asks for something, let's work together to help them. So I think that be humble and kind is really, really important. For those of you that have children, this is one of the things they talked about at leadership, and that's teaching your children to be confident. And I think that is so, so important, because we can probably all remember as young people, we were bullied, or, we were told we weren't good enough, or, we were on the losing team. And it shouldn't be like that. Now, we don't want to have like a everybody's a winner mentality either, because some win and some lose. But you don't have to be the best at everything. But you want to teach your children to be confident. Hey, sweet girl, see, there's a little one there, Nina's little one. But you want to teach those kids to be confident, to be humble, to be kind, because guess what? They're the next generation that's going to be depending on us, or that we're going to be depending on them. And so I think that that's really important when it comes to the LuLaRoe culture. It's all about family, strengthening your family and blessing those lives. And you're going to do that by investing in your children. And I just think that's really awesome that you would think, well, why is she not here talking about something to do with clothes? She's talking about how we need to treat our children. But that's how the LuLaRoe culture is. Pretty much every single one of Deanne's kids is involved in this business. And that's because she's taught them to be confident, to know that they're capable, and to be able to do good things. The next thing I wanted to mention is I want you guys to know, every single one of you that's on this call, I believe in you. I know that you can do this. I absolutely 110% without a doubt believe you can do this. Yes, Jolissa, power to the people. But you guys can do this. It's not that hard, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You've got to put in the effort, but it is not hard. I mean, this is not brain surgery. This is not digging ditches. This is selling dresses. It's fun. It's not easy. It's hard work, but you can do it. And I seriously believe in every single one of you. And if I didn't, you wouldn't be a part of our team. If you didn't believe in yourself, you wouldn't be a part of our team. So there had to be at least an ounce of your soul that believed you could do this. I mean, how many people spend $6,000 going, yeah, I'm probably going to fail at this, but I'm going to give it a shot? Hello? That's not very smart. But I want you ladies to know, if you don't have somebody who is telling you, I believe in you and I know you can do it, you need to call me, because I'll tell you, I know that some of you probably have husbands that aren't overly supportive, or significant others that aren't overly supportive. I know that some of you probably have friends who think you're the biggest idiot on the planet Earth for selling dresses. I have friends of mine who were like, what? You're quitting your job to sell dresses? And that was because I believed in myself. My husband believed in me. My parents believed in me. My upline believed in me. And I believed in myself, most importantly. And so I want you guys to really have that. And that's the LuLaRoe culture, is confidence. Anytime somebody asks me what I do for a living, because I do a lot of networking, and we'll talk about that at some other point, but in my past banking life, we did a lot of networking. So I'm very comfortable doing group networking. But people always say, well, what do you do? Well, I bring confidence to women through clothing. And I can confidently say that. Now, the first time that I said it, I was like, oh, well, I sell dresses and they make women feel pretty. But now I can say I bring confidence to women through clothing, because I brought confidence to myself. I brought confidence to a lot of you and thousands of customers that we've brought confidence to. So know that you are bringing confidence to other women, but you got to have the confidence in yourself to be able to bring that. So I just want you guys to know that if you need somebody to tell you over and over again how important you are and how successful you're going to be, I can be that person. Now, I can't do your job for you. You have to do your job for yourself, but I can certainly give you some motivation to help get you there. The next thing about the LuLaRoe culture that I wanted to mention is the negativity, and you cannot take it personally. First off, if you are in the buy-sell trade groups, shame on you. I'm sure I'm probably in some of them that I don't even realize it, and I try extremely hard not to be active. And I highly recommend that you guys are not active in those groups either. And the reason why is because the negativity in those groups could kill your business. Some of you might say, oh, well, I'm not sensitive. I don't take it personally. Well, at some point, you'll have a breaking point, and some jerk off in one of those groups who wants to say something terrible, or how they get their leggings at Walmart for only $5. How can we charge $25, or whatever they want to complain about, holes in the leggings or whatever. Some of you may have heard about the conversation with Deanne that was cruising the internet. And guys, that's just people being negative. And quite honestly, they're jealous, I think, of Deanne and her success, and the success of all of the consultants that are following this opportunity, that are doing amazing things with this business. And these people are just here trying to make $50 on a pair of leggings or something. Those people, I'm like, why don't you just sign up to be a consultant? You make a lot more money than you are flipping leggings. So, but please, please, please do not take the negativity personally, even from your friends and family. Brush it off. Find the one thing they say positive and lean on that. And if they just don't have anything nice to say, move on. You might have friends who don't see this opportunity, and that's okay. They're either going to come around and they're going to see it, Nina, or they are, or they're just going to leave. Nina, I'm pretty sure she thought I was a whack job when I started selling dresses. And it took her probably, 8 months before she finally said, let me just come over and look. And that was the end of that. So your friends are either going to jump on board and support you, or, it's time to close the chapter on that friendship if they're being that negative. So just keep that in mind. Don't let the negativity affect you personally or kill your business. Know that LuLaRoe is not out to harm us. I mentioned this before. There's a lot of times that we say, oh, well, I was supposed to get my call last month, and, so-and-so got their call on the 15th. They must hate me. No, they don't hate you. They're just going through the list. They're going through the processes. We promise you'll get your call. We promise they want to take your money. I know we always kind of joke and say, this is the hardest I've ever tried to get rid of $6,000 in my whole life. Like, I'm begging them to take my money and they won't call me. They make me wait 8 weeks. It's crazy. But I promise you that it is so worth it, and it will be the best investment you've ever made. But they are not out to get us. They are out to help us, and I've seen that firsthand. And kind of my last point regarding the culture of LuLaRoe, it's all about how we react to the situation. So if somebody messages you and says, hey, I've worn my leggings once and they have some holes in them. Well, your first thought is, okay, well, did you, sit in a rose bush, or, did you cut them, or did you stretch them out? Maybe you needed tall and curvy instead, or, that's your first thought. But in reality, you guys, if you just said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that happens. That's so rare. I mean, you're the first person I've heard of in months to have this happen. Go ahead and pick out another pair. I'll get them shipped out to you right away. That reaction is so much better than, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What did you do the first time you wore them? You can't react like that. And the same thing with your team. I can't tell you how many times you guys come to me with stuff and I think to myself, well, that's a silly question, or we just talked about that last week, or I think I've told her this already. But you can't respond like that. So I always, and I actually probably one of my downfalls is my empathy. I feel sorry for you sometimes. Melissa Head is a perfect example. She was August 24th, and there is people from 9/8 and 9/15 getting their calls. I mean, that's almost a month past her online date. I feel bad for her. But does that mean that she's going to fail at this business? Absolutely not. There is a reason that she hasn't got that call yet. And although we're not really sure what it is, I'm a religious person, so I think it's all in God's timing. If you don't believe that, that's okay. But I do believe that it's all in God's timing why she hasn't got that call yet. There's some reason there. But your time will come, and it will be amazing. And I will tell you, for those of you that are waiting on your call, it's not as monumental as you, or monumentous, or whatever the word is, as you think it's going to be. It's literally like a 3-minute phone call. It's like a slam bam, thank you ma'am. You give them your payment information and you're done. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Because you think it's going to be like Christmas morning when you get that call, and it's not. It's pretty uneventful. And those that have gotten their call recently, we've had this conversation. But man, when those boxes show up at your front door, it is hallelujah time. And it is time to get to work. So that's really when the fun starts, when those boxes start to arrive. So just be cognizant of how you react to situations, because that is all in the culture of LuLaRoe. Another one thing I wanted to mention is if you are wearing LuLaRoe, you're a representation of the company. So if you're wearing LuLaRoe and you're at the bar getting wasted, or you have a LuLaRoe sticker on your car and you're cutting people off on the interstate, that's no good. That's bad. So just be cognizant of that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've been out somewhere and, people will recognize you. They'll recognize your clothing. I mean, how many times have you seen somebody in leggings that you just know they're LuLaRoe and you guys smile and wave in passing? I kind of call it like the Jeep thing. If any of you are familiar with the Jeep Wranglers, they all wave at each other when they drive by. And it's the weirdest thing. But if I'm driving a Jeep and you're driving a Jeep, we wave at each other when we pass each other on the street. It's so weird. But that's how LuLaRoe is. When you see somebody wearing LuLaRoe, you like automatically want to be their friend. You want to talk to them. You want to strike up a conversation. And that's the LuLaRoe culture. But that's all the more reason you have to be cognizant of how you react to certain situations. So just take that into consideration. The next part of what I wanted to talk about, okay, we're doing good on time. Does anybody have any questions about the culture of LuLaRoe? Don't all jump at once.
I just want to attest to what you said about wearing LuLaRoe. Kelly and I were at the outlet mall today, and I was wearing a Carly, and 2 people were like, I love your Carly. Like, they know. So yes. I was very good today.
Okay, and Jalissa, did you say, let me see your phone and let me add you to my VIP group?
I gave him my business card.
Okay, I'll take it.
Close enough.
That's good enough. Number one is just go ahead. Let me see your cell phone. I'm going to add you to my VIP group. Now, they might think you're crazy and they might say no, and then you give them a business card. But the business card is definitely, kind of the easier way to talk to people. But great job, Jalissa. That's definitely true. People will notice. especially if you're wearing unicorn pants. They'll notice. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about tonight is leadership. And so many of you are taking on roles of leadership. And if you haven't taken on leadership roles yet, you're really excited to do it. I mean, we used to be able in the queue to have those people on board, and I know they recently have taken it away from us. And I really think that there is a good reason for that. And the reason I say that is because it's hard for you to train somebody else on something you haven't done yourself. So that's like, for instance, if I'm teaching you how to do laundry and I've never done laundry myself, well, I'm not going to be a very good teacher. I'm just going to maybe tell you like what I saw on the YouTube video or something. But in order to be a good leader, to be a good teacher, you need to practice it yourself. What was happening is, so let's say, for instance, I sponsor Jolissa, and Jolissa's in the queue, and she sponsors somebody. Well, then I'm ended up having to help that person, and it's not really empowering Jolissa to be a good leader. So they want you to onboard, and then once you onboard, you can start to onboard additional people. So I know some people were kind of like, what? But I really think it's a good thing. It does slow down the growth of our teams, absolutely, but I think for good reason. So just kind of keep that in mind. But as you begin to grow your business, and pretty much everything I'm going to talk about from here on out is stuff that we talked about at leadership training in California. So the first thing is that in this business, really the sales part of LuLaRoe is a part-time job. Some of you went hog wild from the very beginning on your sales, and it was a full-time job. But for the most part, when people start LuLaRoe, they either have another job or they have other responsibilities. And a lot of people just kind of start it as a part-time gig. So the sales part of this business is part-time. When you add on becoming a leader, and not necessarily the first person you sponsor, but especially when you become a trainer, LuLaRoe becomes a full-time job. And I am a pretty good testament to that because I had a full-time job. I worked a lot of hours, and I worked LuLaRoe, the sales aspect of it, part-time, separate from my job. But as my team started to grow, I realized that being at work all day was neglecting my team. Now, granted, some of you are at work all day, but that's okay. You'll get to a point where managing your team is going to take almost as much time as your sales do. And then there will be some point where managing your team maybe doesn't take as long because you're better at it. You're more efficient. So just keep that in mind, that it's kind of like a 50-50 sales and leadership. Now, don't misconstrue what I'm saying in that if you have a full-time job that you can't do the sales and be a leader. You absolutely can. You might be staying up later at night, or you might be double duty while you're at work during the day, but you can make it happen. You can absolutely make it happen. We have people on our team that are trainers and above that are making it happen with a full-time job, working the sales and being a leader. But for most people, that really is where it makes it a full-time job. So just keep that in mind. A saying that really stuck out to me at leadership was, no matter who I worked for, they determined my worth. So when I worked at the bank, the president of the bank, or the executive vice president, or whatever they call them, they're always changing those titles. They determined my worth. They got to decide how much I was going to get paid. They got to decide what my title was. They got to decide when I had to come to work. They got to decide my hours. They did everything. I just had to show up and collect a paycheck and do my job. So that really was powerful to me. There have been many times in my career that I haven't felt valued, that I've felt like I've done things and then haven't been rewarded or thanked or felt appreciated. And that's not the case in LuLaRoe. And if you guys are on our team page, you know that I celebrate birthdays, I celebrate engagements, I celebrate your first team member, I celebrate your first event, because everything should be celebrated. If you sell 5 pieces at your first show, well, guess what? That's 5 more pieces than you would have sold if you didn't even do that show. So every little accomplishment is going to help us create a better worth for ourselves. And that was something that really, really stood out for me, is working for somebody else allows them to create my worth. At what point in my life was I going to create my own worth? Was I going to decide how much I'm worth? I'm going to decide how much I'm worth to my family. And I can make my own worth by being my own boss. And that's the attitude you want in leadership, because that's going to help you to help other people determine their worth. Because at the end of the day, as leaders, we're not somebody else's boss. Nina is my direct recruit. I'm not Nina's boss. I'm her sponsor in LuLaRoe, but Nina is running her own business. Now, we collaborate and we talk about things, but I am not her boss. I am not her, president or servant or whatever. She is her own boss. She gets to make decisions for her business. Now, you do have to operate within policies and procedures, but it's not like working at the bank where I tell Nina she has to be there at 9 a.m. She can't leave till 5 p.m. She's got to take a lunch break at 12:30. There isn't any of that. So we get to determine our own worth. And I just think that that's really important. The next point that I wanted to talk about was the fly on the wall. And you hear this all the time. Oh, if only I could be the fly on the wall. Well, I want to ask you, what does the fly on the wall say about you? So how do you react when no one's watching? How do you react when you're in situations? So when I go over to Nina's house, do we gossip about everybody else on the team? The fly on the wall is hearing that. And trust me, we don't do that because we know better. But when you're driving in the car, are you cursing at the person who just, merged into your lane? What would the fly on the wall say about you? And I just think that that is such a powerful statement, because we don't think about that. We think like, okay, I'm on the camera, I'm talking to these 20 people on my team, so I'm going to be this little like Brady Bunch. But what happens when I turn off the camera? What does the fly on the wall say about me? And if you really think about that, you will be a better leader, because I promise you, if the fly on the wall has something good to say about you, you're going to be a better leader. You're going to be better for your team, because you're better behind closed doors, and that's going to make you better in front of your team. So just kind of keep that in mind. What does that fly communicate about your behavior? Another thing that kind of rings true with that, hold on. Another thing that kind of rings true with that is things like, are you using Audrey? Or are you using a backup source? Now, 9 times out of 10, those on your team and those above you, they don't necessarily know if you're using Audrey or if you're using Square, but the policies and procedures state that we need to use Audrey. You're going to be a better leader by using Audrey. Now, trust me, Audrey has PMS every now and then, and so you need to have a backup system, but for the most part, you need to be using Audrey. Are you working your business consistently? Are you upselling your customers? So when they come over and they want to try on a Cassie skirt, are you giving them a shirt to try with it? So those are all, it's not just necessarily your attitudes and behaviors, but it is more, it's not just your attitudes, but it is your behaviors. And those are behaviors that are going to make you a great leader. I recently had somebody ask me, when are you going to put some people on my team? Well, number one, that is not a good, if you have to ask that question, it's probably not a very positive answer. But number two is, you have to show me that you can be a good leader. We do have the ability to stack our teams, and that's something that's not necessarily talked about real openly. It's more of like a co-partnership, and it just really makes sense, because at some point, if I took on 60 directs, there's no way that I can teach all those people and train all those people to be good stewards of the culture and be good at their business. So we have to move those people around to make sure that they get the undivided attention that they need to start their business. But if you're not using Audrey, if you're not practicing good sales techniques, if you're on the BST pages, if you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing, Nobody's going to put anybody on your team. I promise you that, because that's like, you know, recommending somebody for a job and they get the job and then they flake out and you look bad. I mean, that's the same equivalent. So just keep that in mind. I think it's really, really important that we abide by the rules. Those of you that have shopped with me, very, very rare have I used Square. I primarily use Audrey unless it's down and I have to send invoices, because that's the only time I have to do it. But I highly recommend that you guys are doing the same. And if you have questions about that, let me know. The next point, and I only have a few more points to go over, is the 4 lenses. And some of you may have heard of this before. Let me grab the cards. Let's see. So these are the 4 lens cards. So there's this one, and this one, and this one. And we're actually going to do an activity with this on the team page, so I'm not going to dive too much into detail on it. But basically, the 4 lenses are picking the card that speaks the most to you. So which pictures, not just on this card, but out of the 4 cards, you would pick the card that the picture's most stuck to you, most related to you. So for example, this is mine, and this is a blue. And so, you know, the love and the cuddling and, you know, all that kind of sappy romance stuff, that's me. And basically on the back of the card, it's got a lot of writing. And like I said, we're going to do an activity with this on our team page. But basically a blue is a nurturing person. They want to be told, I love you. They want to be told, I'm doing a good job. You know, you want to be recognized. You kind of want that happily ever after. Why can't everybody just all get along? Just give them a hug and it'll be okay. That's kind of the blue person. And each card is a little different. So, you know, there's words that describe you and the things that are important to you. And so for the most part, this card will kind of relate based on the pictures that you chose. And the reason why I'm mentioning this today is because this will help you understand, once you become a leader, or if you already are a leader, this will help you understand how to work with your team. So if I have somebody on my team who is having a hard time and they're a blue, you know, we might have to get a little chummy, and maybe I need to give her a hug and, you know, or send her a little something, and, you know, and let her know that I think she's doing an amazing job. But then there might be somebody else who is like a thrill seeker and they just want you to get straight to the point. They don't want any fluff. They just want to be told what they can do and move on. So I know I'm not necessarily describing all the lenses perfectly, but it's just a way to help you better understand your people. Sarah, Michelle, and I all got to go with my husband to California. And so it was so much fun for the 4 of us to figure out what colors we were. And the crazy thing was, I was one color, Sarah was one color, and Michelle was one color. And it's so crazy to me because the 3 of us got along so well, but we were all 3 so different and we had different values, but we get along so well. And I think that the reason for that is because we understand how this process works. So like I said, we're going to be talking more about this on the team page because I think it's going to be really important and valuable information for you guys. I don't know if any of you are marketing people, but that's my background. My degree is in marketing and that was my previous job. But we would do a SWOT analysis, and it was strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I think that that's really important when you're dealing with your team, is using the SWOT analysis approach. So when I look at Nina, I can tell you the things that she's really strong at. She's really great at live sales. You know, her and her daughter have a lot of fun. They kill it on the live sales. You know, weaknesses, I don't know, album sales. She doesn't like to do pictures. And then opportunities and threats. So you can kind of go through all of those different things and figure out with your team what their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. And that will really help you to help them to be a better leader. The next bullet point I have is consistent action. If you're going to be a leader, you have to be consistent. So doing these webinars, we've now got a schedule down. We're going to do them every other Wednesday so that there's some consistency. Consistency with your scheduling. Most of the people on my team pretty much kind of know my schedule. They know when I'm going to be available. And that to me speaks volumes to how you're going to be able to better manage your team by being consistent. So that's consistent in your daily activities, consistent in your business, and consistent in the management of your team. The next bullet point is, if you are successful, people will follow you. People want to follow success. So in this business, I mean, how many times do we say, okay, well, my so-and-so friend's a consultant, but I know this other girl who's a consultant and she's really successful, so I think maybe I want to join with her, when the other girl is really your friend. Because people want to follow success. They want to be able to see that you have what it takes to be successful. Therefore, they will believe that they could do the same thing. So if you're not selling, let us know. Let us help you. We can come up with some ideas and some plans to help you, because success is going to follow. People are going to want to follow your success. And that's part of how I built my business, is I was just doing my thing on my page. I didn't necessarily want a team. And now we've got over 120 people on our team. And so success will follow that. They want to see you be successful, and they will want to come and be a part of that. So don't get too ahead of yourself on the recruiting. The recruiting is a fantastic way to make additional income, but just know that you shouldn't have to force people to join your team. You shouldn't have to twist people's arms to join your team. They're going to want to join your team because they're going to see your success. So just start with that, and it will help you as well. My second to last point for being a leader that we talked about at leadership, and this really hit home to me because I have a tendency to not do this, but pick up the phone when emotion is involved. So for example, somebody on my team sends me a text message that says, oh my gosh, LuLaRoe hates me. I just had 10 missing items in my box. I'm so upset. I'm never going to be able to sell anything that's in this box. Well, I could respond to her, but it makes so much more sense to just pick up the phone, because emotion is involved in her message, and whatever I say is either going to upset her or put her over the edge, or it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to be what she wanted me to say, and now she has it in writing, and she can say, oh, well, Meredith is a jerk because this is how she responded to me. It doesn't work. And so I always would just respond back, and then we'd get in like kind of this match back and forth. Same thing with emails. Anytime somebody messages you about something and there's some emotion involved, pick up the phone, have a conversation. If you have to have a conversation with somebody where there could be emotion involved, so let's say, for instance, you get a complaint that somebody on your team is selling below MAP prices. Well, I'm not just going to send that person an email and say, or a message and say, hey, FYI, you can't sell at MAP. I need to pick up the phone and call that person, because number one, you don't need to assume, you need to be curious. So don't judge, be curious. So maybe they didn't know. Maybe there's a reason they're selling below MAP. But if you don't pick up the phone, they're just going to take that initial message and they're going to kind of disregard it, or they're going to be mad at you. So that's something that's going to be really important to me. I know one of the things I love that I kind of discovered through Nina was the Facebook video chat. So if somebody sends me a Facebook message and there's some emotion involved, I just hit to call them. Now, not everybody has their phone number hooked up, and I don't really do that with like a customer. But just be careful what you write to your customers. I don't necessarily like call them, but people on your team, the people that you work with, you want to pick up the phone and call them. And that Facebook chat is a great way to do that, because you don't even need to have their phone number. It's like already hooked up through Facebook. So it's pretty cool. And the last point on leadership that I have is be the champion of positivity. It is so easy to be the negative one. And like I said, I came from that world where it was easier to say, well, LuLaRoe hates me because I can never get tall and curvy leggings. I try every day for 3 hours and they just don't want me to have tall and curvy leggings. No, that's not the case. I'm sure there's some reason, and quite frankly, you can't find the positive lining in everything, because I'm with you guys. I'm like, darn it, I need some tall and curvy leggings. But guess what? Nobody is like dying over the fact that we don't have tall and curvy leggings. It's not the end of the world. We might think it is, but it's not. So as leaders, you have to be the champion for positivity. And I'm sure that there's some of you on this call right now that have wanted to like throw open your mouth when you reach out to me. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, it'll be okay. Because you're like, oh, here she goes again, Miss Cheerleader. But if you call me and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's not tall and curvy, the company hates me. And I said, oh, well, they hate me too, because, you know, I've got back ordered items, and, you know, it just breeds negativity. So you have to be the champion of positivity. If somebody comes to you with negativity, you have to push it down with positivity. It's a must, a mandatory must. Now, I'm also a realist. So if there is a true problem, for instance, somebody from August hasn't onboarded yet, let me know, because those are things that we need to handle. But things like tall and curvy leggings are not a true emergency. Now, I know we might think they're a minor emergency, but it's not a true emergency, and nobody's going to die over tall and curvy leggings. So just keep that in mind. And I always say there is no such thing as a clothing emergency. We are not doctors. We are not EMS technicians. So there is no emergencies in this business. It's just clothes, y'all. And we've got a lot of them. So, you know, just keep that in mind. But you have to be the champion of positivity. That is so, so important. So those are all my bullet points. That was most of kind of the highlights regarding leadership training and the things that we did at leadership training, the things that we talked about. There's been some just amazing information that's come out. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the memes. Some of you might have the memes already. They're gorgeous. They are limited edition. So there's a pretty good chance they won't be making any more. And if they do, it won't be until next winter, fall, winter. Because it just doesn't make sense as long as it takes to make them. If they start right now, they're going to come back out in the dead of summer and nobody's going to want them. So they could come out again next year, but they won't be coming out anytime soon. So if anybody was curious about that. But lots and lots of good stuff. Does anybody have any questions about leadership, about the culture? Or if you just have general questions, I can answer those too.
I have a question, Meredith.
Yes, ma'am.
What percentage of your day would you say you spend managing like your direct recruits? Now that you have I know you have a lot of people, but.
Yeah, and see, the crazy thing about this is we have about 120 people on our team, and I think like 16 or 17 of them are direct to me. The rest of them are branches off those people. So I would say it's hard to say a percentage of the day, because there are some days where I feel like I didn't even sell anything. I was just working with my team that whole day. But I would say for me, it's probably like a maybe like a 60-40 balance, where 60% of my time is spent doing sales and 40% of my time is spent managing my team. And I've actually had this conversation with a couple of other leaders. And the question came up, you know, are you making a ton of more money now that you're devoting your entire, day to LuLaRoe? And I definitely can't say that my income has doubled or tripled since I quit my job. What has changed for me is my work-life balance. And that was really, really important to me. I'm making pretty significantly more money than I was making at my previous job that I quit. But I'm doing it on a little bit less work hours. So for example, that job, I maybe worked 45, 50, sometimes longer hours per week. now I'm working like 35, 40 hours a week. And then the rest of my week is spent, doing household things and being with my family. So I would say I'm probably at a point right now where it's about 60-40. And it's hard to like split up a day. But I would say just in general, that's kind of how my time spent. I am very, very fortunate that I don't have many on my direct line that have to be like handheld. I do have some new people, but even the new ones are like hitting the ground running, doing their thing. And you will get people on your team that are much more needy than other people, and that's okay. Some people just take it and run with it. I'm looking at a few people on this call that like number one, had just started my business, so I didn't even know what to tell them to do. And they just had to figure it out and do it. And there's some people that came on, when I was 8 months into my business that just ran with it. But then you have those people that, you need to really kind of walk them through the process. And quite frankly, I like having both types of people, because those that are just running with it, sometimes they make mistakes, but they're, no mistake is crucial in this business. So, when I was in banking, you make a mistake, you could get fired. Here, that's not the case. You make a mistake, you ask for forgiveness, and you move on. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I would say probably about 60-40. That was a long-winded answer to your question, Ashley.
Nope, that's perfect.
Anybody else have questions? Do I need to unmute? I guess you can't tell me if I need to unmute you, right? Some of you I can see, so flag me down if you have questions. Da, 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 da. That's it. Okay, well, that was a whole lot of information. I hope that you took some great notes. I will post the recording of this call. Oh, Anja took some good notes. I see her. Yes. And so I'm going to post the recording. It takes, like 20 minutes to download the recording, and then I put it on YouTube, and I'll share it to the team page. So those of you that are leaders, make sure you tag your girls if they weren't able to get on, because I think this is really important. And I just ask that all of you try as hard as you possibly can to live and breathe the LuLaRoe culture, because that is what's going to make you successful. That is what's going to change your business. I tell you, you got to give to receive. It was really hard for me in the beginning to give away inventory that I had paid money for. But guys, those leggings, you pay $10.50, and you just have no idea what a free pair of leggings to somebody in need will do. I know the first time I gave to somebody, it came back to me in tears. She was crying, I was crying, it was $10.50. I mean, it's crazy. And then a lot of I just shared on our team page, one of my customers that I had no idea. She was having a personal crisis, and then she came, we talked, I didn't think anything of it. She left and, then wrote me how impactful that conversation was. And that's just being kind. And that's all that is just being kind. And if you feel led to give, because there's a reason. Now, I will caution you that there are some like hardcore, LuLaRoe snobs, we'll call them, that poach on the new consultants, and they give you these sob stories so that you'll give them something for free. So just, be cautious, but give freely, give openly. At the end of the day, those people have to sleep with themselves at night, and you did a good deed that you felt led to give. So give. It's okay. If you get duped, now you know better, but just know that those people are out there. So just be curious. So ask questions, because a lot of times you can kind of tell, off the top just by asking some questions if they're legitimately in need or not. So just make sure that you're a part of that and you're giving and being kind, because that's the LuLaRoe culture. And if there's somebody on our team that's not living the LuLaRoe culture, reach out to them, reach out to me. I will gladly, help that person understand the LuLaRoe culture. And if you don't understand the LuLaRoe culture and you don't believe in the LuLaRoe culture, let me know, because this might not be the right business for you. I have now been to 3 events in California in a year. It hasn't even been a year that I've been a LuLaRoe consultant, and I've been to 3 events. And so I know firsthand, 3 events in California. I've been to the Inspire training in Tampa, and it's coming up again in November. But I know the culture of LuLaRoe, and I know that if Deanne could literally hug the necks of every single consultant, she would. If she could take a picture or have lunch with every single consultant, she would. When I first started the business, there was about 3,000 consultants a year ago. She was seriously upset on one of the calls because she did not know us all by name. Well, bless her poor little heart, because now there's 45,000 of us, and there's no possible way she can know us by name. But that's the heart of Deanne. She literally wants to be a part of our lives. Now, at this point, it's hard. There's 45,000 of us. But just know that you are not just a number. You are not just a LuLaRoe consultant. You are a human being, and you are worthy. You are important, and they want you to be successful. So just know that LuLaRoe is there for us. They're going to do everything they can to help make us successful, and they want us to be successful, and not for their own personal gain. So just keep that in mind. So I don't think anybody has any other questions. We will go ahead and call it a night. I hope you guys have a great evening. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.